Okay, here's a project I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. This is my grinding jig, and what I do is I bolt the knife to this jig, and this bolt here adjusts the angle of the jig. So when I put a knife on it, if I lean it further in, it's a shallow bevel. If I lean it further out, it's a longer bevel. You know, I can adjust it where I bevel the entire thing from spine to blade edge, or halfway. And it works good, except for it hangs up, it drags on this. Well, I don't actually use this. I have another piece of metal. This is just too small. So I have another piece of metal that I set there, and I clamp it down with a couple of clamps, and it's almost as bad on this, hangs up. And I have polished that, and I've done everything I can to make it smooth. I have this oil here that, you know, I spray this down, and for 2 or 3 passes it's okay, and then it starts digging in again. And it's really, it affects how clean my grind lines are. So let me show you what I'm working on. This is done. This is a nylon cutting board, and it's a little too thin to use by itself, so what I plan on doing is drilling 4 holes and bolting this down to that table, and then gluing this on the top of that. And then my jig, grinding this into a wedge and attaching it to the bottom of my jig where it's got the same angle at all times. So that is a nice slick surface there. If nothing else, if I put this on, I think it'll make a huge difference with nothing else done to the jig. And I'm going to do that first. And what I really needed was some, what do they call them? Not pan heads. They're machine screw heads. They're, you know, conical. One second. Here we go. Here would be the bolt, and here would be the head, and maybe a, you know, a slotted screw in it. But I don't have anything like that, so I'm either going to wait and go to Ace Hardware, or I'm going to try to make some of these conical shaped machine screws out of just some regular hex bolts. I don't know if it's a waste of time or not. I'm waiting on Sandy to get back with me on this. I want to do a liner on it. This is the spalted oak I'm going to use, and I want her to decide whether she wants Purple Heart or the walnut. Purple Heart is sure. That's a pretty wood. I haven't used it yet. I have used a lot of the walnut, and that looks real nice too. But anyway, this is a custom knife, and custom means you choose your options. And here's my mosaic pen. I haven't cut it yet. I got to cut the handles and get a good idea for how thick I'm going to make the handles, and then cut my pins. So a little bit at a time. Today's Thursday. I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything on that knife tomorrow. I've got Kroger shopping, Walmart shopping. I got to go way over to Shreveport to get our drugs. Whole bunch of running around. And Saturday I can work on it. Sunday's my day off. Monday I got to be over in Texas to do some work. So, you know, it's all. Everybody who orders a knife knows that I get these done as quickly as possible, but I have to fit the knives in around my life, which is just the way I want it to be. I don't want this to be a job. It's a hobby, and I just love making these knives, and selling them just helps me buy more sandpaper and steel. All right, let me get back to thinking about this. Well, here's what I got so far. Those do not stick up too high. So what I'm going to do is these heads are almost a half an inch. So I'm going to drill some half-inch holes about 1/8 of an inch deep here, corresponding to this. And then I'm going to prime this. Not prime it, but I'm going to soak it down with some alcohol and rub it really good. And then hit this with some super glue and clamp it together and hope it'll hold. If not, then I'll do it the right way, and that is to buy a piece of 5/8 nylon. It's about 75 bucks for the size I need. And just go to the store and buy the right screws. Okay, let me get to work. Let me drill these little half-inch holes out here and see if I can make it fit flush. What I have here is a spade bit that I ground the tip off. That's what it's supposed to look like. And so far, I kind of think it might work. Now, I might have to take my Dremel with an end mill and you know, clean that up just a little bit, but I think I got a real good start on this. Let me get the rest of these done. I got 4 more to do. All right, let's see if they match. Yep. Okay, let me find an end mill and bottom these out a little bit, and the next step will be gluing, and I don't have enough super glue, so I'll have to put that off till tomorrow too. Let me get these bottomed out. Right, here's an end mill. Noise alert. Just a second, I got an idea. God, do I have enough bolts? My God, I'm almost out. By golly, that's going to work. All right, you saw how it's done. Let me get the rest of these cleaned up and we'll see if it's going to fit. All right, let's see if it fits. Yep, perfect. All right, now I need super glue. I'm going to rough it up with some sandpaper, both of the mating surfaces. I'm going to clean it really good with some alcohol, and then I'm going to put a whole bunch of it's CA glue, it's the super glue type of stuff, and clamp it, and we'll see. So far so good. Okay, new plan. Since I do have epoxy, I'm going to drill small holes, 1/8 inch actually, completely through this piece here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I may go 12. I may go 6 and then 6. I'm going to drill holes completely through this, and then I'm going to take my awl and start me some holes in the next piece. And these are the screws I'm going to use. on, fat fingers. And they will not go all the way through. As long as I don't over torque them. So between the screws and the epoxy, I believe it'll work. I'm going to get this took apart. And you're saying, but Brad, you won't have access to the bolt heads. Well, I know I'll be able to start the nut, and I get it on enough where I can hold on to the end with a pair of vice grips and tighten these nuts up. Alright, let's get this party started. Well, I am a little slow, and I bet some of y'all have already got this one figured out ahead of me. If I put these pan head bolts like this, when I screw them in, they're still going to stick out, and when I put this, those pan heads are going to hit the top of that. So can't do that. I can use these for the four outer ones away from the top of this. So I've got these wood screws. What I'm going to do is countersink these holes. They're very, very short screws, so I'm going to have to really countersink these at least 1/8 of an inch. But they'll be below the surface of this, and that's what counts. So let me get a drill bit that will work. Let me see here. Since you're here, let's just see. Now the next size up. Next size up will do it. Yep. Alrighty, let me get to drilling. So you see what I did here? Put a piece of tape on that drill bit, and that's as deep as I'm going to drill is up to the edge of that tape. And that ought to put me just about perfect. So far so good. Now, let me get this on it. Come on, it's gonna take 2 hands? Yeah, it's gonna take 2 hands. You get the idea. I'm gonna tighten this up, put the nuts and washers back on, tighten it up, not too tight, but I'm gonna let it sit. I'm gonna clamp it on both ends and in the middle down to this, and I'm just gonna let it sit overnight. See you tomorrow. Okay, it's the next morning. I got up at 2 in the morning yesterday, and 4 this morning. I get up at 4 pretty much every morning, but Lordy, it's hard to sleep a full night. Well, this is it. I'm going to start pulling these clamps off and see if that adhesive, that epoxy held. I hope it did. Let me get this part. Well, it looks good. I've got a little bit of adhesive squeezing out around the joints, so I know it made contact. Alright, I'm going to mount this, and then I'm going to start thinking about how I'm going to make this work. I still haven't figured this out yet. Maybe I'll have to make a whole new jig. I've been thinking inside the box of how I'm going to make this jig work on that. I mean, even if I did nothing, it still slides a lot easier. But maybe I need to think outside the box. Maybe I need to think about a whole new type of jig, maybe made just out of this. That is something. Yep, maybe that's something I need to consider. Okay. I guess I really need to think about temperature. I don't know what this stuff is made out of. I doubt that it's nylon or Delrin because that stuff is pretty expensive. And this was just a, $10 cutting board. So I doubt it was the expensive stuff. It's probably some high density polystyrene, poly something or other. I think it's probably plastic. So therefore, I got to worry about heat. Too hot, and you know, these get pretty hot when you're grinding, and it might melt it. So let me stop there, and let me get this put on and mounted, and then I'm going to start thinking about this. And today's Friday. I'm going to spend all day over in the big city, and so today's a no knife Friday, and of course I'm not going to be here all day. Today's the day I'm going to get all my packages. My jet belt sander didn't show up yesterday. It was supposed to again. I'm supposed to get a new one of these today. I'm supposed to get the box of belts that the right ones. They sent me the wrong ones. I'm supposed to get them today, and I won't be here, and it might rain. So let's get the day started. All right, that half of the problem is solved. Now I need to check it for square. And it is square. You see the gap is the same. And let's see this away. I'm happy. Well, I have eliminated the need to take that on and off. And then I'll tell you another alteration I made to this. Well, two actually. The side cover, I don't even have that anymore. You change these belts so often that you see this tab here, this ear on that side of the table. There was one here too. And to change this belt, you had to take the table off. So I put this on my bandsaw and I cut that ear off on that side. So now I can get the belt on and off without having to remove the table. All right, that part is solved. Now I got to start thinking on the jig.